She told me, "You're replaceable," while using my savings to build her self-love brand. I canceled every autopay in her system. A year later, her flower shop was gone, and I finally found my own roots. When Alina and I first met, she was standing behind a flower stand at a street market, humming to herself while arranging sunflowers in a chipped white vase. Her hands were covered in pollen, and she had this habit of talking to flowers as if they were people. I was on my lunch break, late for a meeting, but I ended up staying for almost an hour just listening to her describe what she loved about imperfect stems. She was magnetic, the kind of person who made even small talk feel like a confession. Within weeks, we were seeing each other every day. Within months, she'd moved into my apartment. I worked in finance. Boring, structured, predictable. She was chaos in floral form, impulsive, alive, allergic to spreadsheets. When she told me she wanted to turn her tiny flower cart into a real shop, I offered to help her get started. She hesitated. "I don't want you to think I'm using you." "I don't," I told her. And I meant it. So I did what I do best. I built order out of mess. I helped her register the business, find a location, set up accounts, automate supplier payments, and organize her books. I even used a chunk of my savings to cover the deposit for the shop lease. That was our start. Her creativity, my stability. For a while, it worked. She'd wake up early to pick flowers from local markets. I'd stay up late balancing her invoices. I loved watching her come home with arms full of roses, hair tangled, smiling through exhaustion. I thought we were building something together, love and legacy. Then the rebrand began. It started small. She added candles, then essential oils, then handmade affirmation cards. Soon Alina's blooms became Rooted Soul Studio, a wellness space for feminine healing. She stopped talking about flowers. She started talking about energy, manifesting, divine womanhood. I'd watch her on Instagram lives, calling herself a creative coach and saying things like, "If a man truly loves you, he'll support your evolution." I knew she meant me, but it still stung when she added, "If he resists it, he's afraid you'll outgrow him." At first, I laughed it off. She was experimenting, right? Growing, evolving. But the tone changed. Suddenly, I wasn't her partner. I was the shadow energy she was learning to release. She'd roll her eyes when I mentioned bills. "Stop suffocating everything with logic, Mason. You're addicted to control." Control? I'd been the one quietly keeping her dream afloat. The rent, utilities, suppliers, all automated from my accounts. She hadn't written a single check in months. Then one night, after a small fight about money, she looked at me with this cold, almost triumphant smile and said, "You're replaceable, Mason. Men like you are everywhere. Guys who pay bills, fix spreadsheets, pretend they're the reason women succeed. You're a placeholder until I level up." I don't think I even blinked. Just sat there, letting her words hang in the air between us. Then I smiled, small, tired, but real. "Then go find another one." That night, after she fell asleep, I logged into my accounts. I canceled every autopay, rent, suppliers, website hosting, marketing subscriptions, everything tied to her business. I left a neat folder on her desk titled "For Your Future Accountant," with every password and invoice she'd need if she wanted to stand on her own. Then I packed my duffel bag, took one last look at the apartment, and walked out into the quiet. The next morning, she woke up to a new kind of silence, one without my stability humming in the background. The first call came around noon. I was at the office, halfway through lunch, when my phone started buzzing. "Mason, what did you do?" Her voice was sharp, panicked. "What do you mean?" I asked, knowing perfectly well. "The power's off. My card got declined. The internet isn't working, and the flower supplier said the account was inactive." "What the hell is happening?" I could hear the chaos behind her, someone banging a door, music cutting in and out. I said calmly, "You said I was replaceable, Alina. I'm just letting you live like I was never here." Silence. Then a shaky breath. "You're seriously doing this to me?" "I'm not doing anything to you," I said. "I'm just not doing things for you anymore." She hung up. Within a day, she took to Instagram. A story. Some men can't handle powerful women. They sabotage what they can't control. Hundreds of her followers responded with sympathy emojis and supportive comments. I didn't reply. I didn't even watch the next ones. By the end of the week, I got a text from one of her employees, a girl named Riley who helped her arrange bouquets and pack orders. "Hey, just FYI, we're shutting down the store. No paychecks. No explanations. She's blaming you for everything. I just wanted to say, we all know who was really keeping things running. That text hit harder than I expected. It wasn't vindication. It was confirmation that she'd turned something good into another victim story. 2 days later, my old friend from the leasing company called. Mason, just checking. Are you still co-signing for Rooted Soul Studio? No, I said quickly. She's the sole guarantor now. What? He sighed. She missed 2 payments. The landlord's ready to file for breach of contract. I thought I'd warn you before your name got dragged into it. I thanked him and hung up. I'd already transferred everything legally, but hearing it out loud still made my stomach twist. That night, I looked up her business page out of morbid curiosity. The last post was a video, low lighting, wilted flowers behind her. She was crying softly, saying, "When you give your heart to someone and they steal your dreams, what's left of you?" The comments were brutal. Half were telling her to stay strong. The other half, the ones who'd clearly seen through her, were asking where their pre-orders went. I didn't feel triumphant, just tired. A week later, she showed up at my apartment. She must have waited in the lobby until someone let her up. When I opened the door, she looked nothing like the Alina I remembered. Eyes puffy, makeup smudged, wearing one of those linen goddess dresses she used to post in. "Mason," she said, "you really hurt me." I stood in the doorway, not inviting her in. "You hurt yourself." I just stopped cushioning the fall. "You made me look like a fool," she snapped, voice cracking. "No," I said quietly. "You did that when you said I was replaceable." She stared at me for a long moment, as if realizing that line, the one she'd thrown like a weapon, was what started it all. Finally, she whispered, "I just wanted to be seen." "I saw you, Alina," I said. "You just didn't like what I saw." She left without another word. A few hours later, I checked her page again. It was gone. Deleted. The digital empire of self-love and empowerment vanished overnight, like it never existed. For the first time in months, I felt something close to peace. Not revenge, not pride, just stillness, the kind you only get when the noise finally dies out. Update 1. It's been about 3 months since everything fell apart with Alina. After she deleted her social media accounts, she vanished completely for a while. No mutual friends heard from her, her shop's location was empty, and the last I'd seen of her online was someone trying to resell one of her Rooted Soul Studio neon signs on Facebook Marketplace. Meanwhile, I started rebuilding. Quietly. No drama, no explanations. I focused on work, moved to a smaller apartment closer to the city, started cooking again, small things that felt like mine. I didn't realize how much of myself I'd given up until I got it back piece by piece. Then, one evening, I got an email. Subject line, apology, sort of. From Alina R. It started off the way I expected. Long paragraphs about how she'd been in a bad headspace, how she felt pressured to succeed, and how my withdrawal of support felt like abandonment. Then, halfway through, it changed tone. "You were right about a lot of things. I wasn't building a business. I was performing a version of myself I thought people wanted to see. It all collapsed the second I stopped believing it. I wish I'd appreciated what we had instead of chasing validation. You were the only real thing in the entire mess." No request to get back together. No plea for forgiveness. Just that. I didn't reply. Not because I was angry. By then, I wasn't. But because some apologies don't need answers. They just need to exist so both people can finally move forward. Still, I couldn't help but wonder what happened after it all burned down. A week later, I got a hint. A florist I work with, one of my new clients, mentioned offhand that someone named Alina had applied for a part-time position at their shop. She said she used to run her own business, but wanted to start fresh. Seemed quiet. Different. I just nodded. "Yeah," I said softly. "That sounds about right." It's strange. I thought I'd feel vindicated hearing that. But instead, there was this faint ache in my chest. Not love. Not regret. Just the ghost of something that once mattered. I guess that's how it ends sometimes. Not with a fight or a finale, but with two people quietly learning the cost of what they built and what they broke. For what it's worth, I hope her flowers bloom again. Just not in my garden. Final update that it's been over a year since I walked away from Alina. I haven't seen her in person since that night she showed up at my door, and I don't follow her online anymore. Occasionally, I hear whispers through mutual friends. She's taking small jobs at local florists, selling some of her handcrafted arrangements online, and living in a tiny studio downtown. Nothing grand, nothing over the top, nothing performative. Just her, quietly rebuilding. For me, life has settled into a rhythm I didn't know I'd been missing. I have my own apartment, a tiny balcony full of herbs and succulents I actually managed to keep alive, and a few close friends who genuinely know me. Work is steady, finances are stable, and for the first time in years, I feel like I'm living for myself, not trying to prop up someone else's fantasies. Sometimes I think about her, about the fire that once lit up every corner she touched. I miss her energy, but I don't miss the chaos. I miss the idea of us, but not the version of her that demanded my life be her stage. A few weeks ago, I walked past her old shop. The sign was gone, the windows covered in a fresh coat of paint. A new cafe was opening there. I stopped for a moment, breathed in the faint scent of fresh paint and coffee, and smiled quietly to myself. The space had changed. So had I. I still remember the night I canceled every autopay, the calm satisfaction of reclaiming my boundaries. That choice didn't feel dramatic at the time, but in retrospect, it was the moment I finally planted my own roots and let hers take their natural course. Some lessons are learned painfully, some losses are necessary, and sometimes the best way to love someone, and yourself, is to step back and let them grow on their own. I haven't thought about sending her a message. I won't. Some bridges are better left uncrossed. But I hope she's finding her way, in the same quiet, grounded way I've found mine. Because at the end of the day, peace is not about winning. It's about finally being in a place where your energy is yours, your choices are yours, and your life, finally, is yours.